starting today's newspaper, what we are going to do is I'm going to tell you there are certain things that you need to read from the yesterday's newspaper as well. Now, because there's a lot of continuation of news. Now, in yesterday's newspaper, one topic was positive signaling militaries to work out the ground details. Army chief on India-China relationship. We already know about the discussion on this issue and the WACC meetings that has been happening. I've been telling you to remember that there is one meeting is at the ground level, which is of the military corps, and then you have the other political and diplomatic meeting under the WACC. So the 31st meeting has happened, and we basically come to an agreement that things can only normalize once the April 2020 situation is has reached. So this was one news. The other is that you might have heard about Iran's attack on Israel. They launched a barrage of missiles, and we are going to read a detailed editorial on this particular issue, and I want you to go through the map of Israel now. Now, if you see the map of Israel, you will see Gaza there, you will see West Bank there, you will see Lebanon there on the top, and you will also see Syria. So you should be able to decipher through take a zoomed picture of that map and see which all are the areas which are under trouble. So you need to identify what are the areas of Gaza and West Bank. Then you also need to identify the southern part of the I'll show it to you in this newspaper, the southern part of Lebanon, where which was basically earlier left by unilaterally left by Israel in 2006. That is where Israel has started its ground forces, and as a response to that, because the one of the armed forces and the armed groups operating from Lebanon is Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah has been armed by Iran, and because the leader of Hezbollah was killed, and therefore the Iran has retaliated. So this particular issues seems to go completely out of hand, and there are no gloves on approach. It's all gloves off approach. What is happening in case of this region? So this is an important point for you to read. And then SBI tightens FNO rules to curbs market speculation. Now we are going to read another article on this, but I want you to read the previous day article as well. What has happened is we have read quite a few times now that futures and options is now becoming the middle India's middle class new gambling venture. Just like you make a team on Dream 11, middle class in India has been, especially retail investors, have been investing significant amounts in futures and options, and 90% of them have lost money. And people who have lost money have an average income of 5 lakh rupees per annum, and this kind of speculation is extremely dangerous for the country, because it basically your savings of the country is going towards all this speculative activity, and the markets are being destabilized because of this speculation, and it has macroeconomic risk associated with it. So the government of India has taken 6 steps, 3 of which will be implemented from November 20th, and then all these steps will be implemented by next year, April. So you need to read that. Then apart from that, there were a couple of the reason that I'm doing this particular newspaper is a couple of more important news that was there. Let me. So preparing for the next pandemic, we already have a newspaper report today, which basically talks about that there should be a pandemic preparedness and emergency response framework under a new Public Emergency Act Management Act. Now, what is the problem is that COVID-19, we saw that we were using the provisions of epidemic Diseases Act 1897, and some provisions of National Disaster Management Act was basically used of 2005. But basically the EDA of 1897 does not define dangerous infection, your contagious diseases, epidemic, and since it has there were no vaccine, then there were no this thing as well. So what needs to be there is for we need a 21st century new act to deal with the future pandemics, as well as we need to have a very strong network of surveillance, so that surveillance system should be there. Then there should be a network of early warning and an independent drug regulator that should be there for speedy access of the international drugs that are approved. So this is what this particular article says. Then another article that you can probably read is how India's temples are run, because of the issue of the entire remember what has happened is that the Tirupati laddu, it has come to disrepute because of the fact that there have been allegations that animal fat has been used in this particular laddu. Now we read the economics of it day before yesterday. Then when we studied that why you have so much of adulteration of ghee in India, which is basically solidified milk fat. The reason is that it is extremely expensive, and b because it is expensive, it is, and it can easily be mixed with other kinds of things. Therefore there is economic incentive to that. And the third is that the demand outstretches the supply by a huge margin. So therefore these were the economic reasons why that happened. Now this brings to the focus that there is a lot of reconsideration, and there's a beautiful article again on the editorial that you can probably read from the 2nd of October. Now one of the issues is that because this is a issue which is close to a lot of Hindu faith people. Therefore a lot of these national and a lot of these conservative bodies are saying, Hindu conservative bodies are basically saying that these temples should now be run by Sanatan Dharm Rakshana Board, which is basically a board, nationwide board of Hindu community, which should run all the temples rather than the states which run the temples. So this particular article talks about that how are temples run according to different state laws, and how basically, because it comes under the concurrent list as well, how both center and states can basically regulate these running of temples. And it's a very lucrative area to be operating in, because of for example, if you see the kind of donations that are received by these temples, they're huge. So even the state governments would not like to relinquish their power of running the temples. So this also talks about the background of this entire issue. You can probably read it. Then Swachh Bharat Mission, we are anyways going to talk about this, but you should be aware about 2-3 things. Now one, you should be aware about what is the Swachh Bharat Mission. It is divided into two parts: the Swachh Bharat Mission Gramin and the urban. The Gramin is run by a different ministry, which is Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, and the urban is by housing in this thing. Now what are the targets? You should be aware, because this has been the 10th anniversary. You should be aware of what are the targets of Swachh Bharat Mission, what was achieved, then what is ODF, what is how is ODF declared, and then what is ODF plus, and then there's something called as ODF plus plus. So you should be aware about all these three things. Then the next article that was there yesterday was A1 China shock, that what is there in terms of the first shock that China has had in the early 2000s, where its exports began to surge throughout the world, and that led to a lot of joblessness in industrial countries like US. Now what is happening throughout the world is, again, China is expanding because of its excess capacity. What is happening is China is going through a real estate crisis, and then the domestic economy is slowing down. So, and because it has a lot of excess capacity, it is making a lot of goods and then selling it to the entire world. But now the world has woken up to this reality of China's excess capacity, and all countries are imposing huge amounts of tariffs on Chinese products. The US just started from October 1. This just started tariffs of 100% on electric vehicles and 50% on solar cells, and a lot of other tariffs. And India has also been imposing a lot of tariff. Despite that, our trade deficit with China, our imports with China are exceeding $100 billion, because that is how deeply China is embedded in our market. And our current account deficit with China is more than that of $60 billion. So we need to also wean away from China. Then this is the article that I wanted you to read, how the laddu crumbles. Now this article is going to differentiate you between who are Hindu conservatives and who are Hindu nationalists. So a nationalist is someone who believes in a single identity, who believes in the identity that the country should come first, and we should all be associated by the idea of Hindutva, and then the idea of a broad-based similar cultural kind of a thing. So for them, Hindu nationalist, nations come first, and small variation in cultures is something that they accept. But there is something called, there are some people called as Hindu conservatives, who basically are there in a lot in southern India. So if you see India, in northern part of India, you will see a lot of Hindu nationalists, and then you have Hindu conservatives. Now Hindu conservatives are basically people who basically care about preserving and practicing the Hindu practice and traditions. So in South India, you will see a lot of Hindu conservatives, and they basically believe in a religious way, and a way of life, a Hindu way of life. So at times people conflate these two issues, and this article basically talks about that, how one can support the other in an issue like this. Now the Hindu nationalists have raised the issue, which is also concerning Hindu conservatives. But the article is quite beautifully written, and I really like the end, because it ends with the Ayodhya temple issue, where the issue was raked up by Rajiv Gandhi, but now this issue has been raised up by TDP. But it says that we really do not know who eats the laddu, because while the issue of Ayodhya was raised by Rajiv Gandhi, the benefits was actually gained by BJP. So a good article for you to read this. Then okay, if you want to read this article, you can read it. Then let's come to today's newspaper. There is one more thing that I wanted to show you. Yes, this is the map. Yeah, so this is the map. See, this is Israel, this is Golan Heights, alongside this will be Syria, and this is Lebanon. And if you see the buffer zone established by the UN at the end of 2006 war, this is basically the area that is there. And then you have this Litani River, and what is Israel is basically moving all its forces not only to this buffer zone, but also to this southern part of Lebanon as well. And now it is saying that all the residents to move above this Awali River. So you should be aware about the detailed map of this entire region. So please make sure you are aware of this. Then another news, I don't think anyone from you is there from Delhi school, but a professor of mine has now been appointed at the Monetary Policy Committee. Now, anyways, in the optional, we are discussing this Monetary Policy Committee, and we are going to talk about it today as well. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee has been reconstituted, and there are three new members who have been added. One is Professor Ram Singh from Delhi School of Economics. The other is Sugata Bhattacharya, who's an economist who's worked with Axis Bank. And then you have Nagesh Kumar sir as the Director and Chief Executive of International Studies in Industrial Development. So these are three people who have been appointed, and again we have the inflation targeting that is there, and then the goal is 2 to 6%, which was amended this thing in the RBI Act 1934. So this is basically what has happened, and you can read about it then. There's another thing, SEBI's new asset classes, how it could benefit investors. Earlier, the asset classes were only three asset classes. One was basically the mutual funds. In mutual funds, the minimum funds required was 500 rupees, and then you had the portfolio management services, where the ticket size was 50 lakh rupees, and then you have the alternate investment fund where the minimum threshold was 1 crore rupees. But there is a huge gap between 500 rupees and 50 lakh rupees, and because of which a lot of middle class people were basically giving money to basically people and unauthorized investing in unauthorized investment schemes, and you had the proliferation of some people called as fin influencers, and because of this unrealistic high returns, now the government has introduced this new category, which is now being called as investment strategies, where an asset and a product class in which the minimum investment of 10 lakh rupees per investor can also be done by a particular asset management company. So you can probably read this. Now let's come to today's newspaper. We'll probably do half of today's newspaper, folks, because of the paucity of time, but I'll cover the main things. Now, the first important news that you should be covering in today's newspaper is government printed and then shelved its report on elephants count fell by 20% in 5 years. Now, you should be aware about each and everything with respect to elephant. The state of elephant report 2020 to 23. All the major areas where elephants are found, and elephants don't move in a small region. They typically move in large regions, and therefore what has happened is that because of number of linear projects, number of linear infrastructure projects, number of mining related issues, what has happened, especially in the Western Ghats, what has happened is that the free movement of elephants has not happened, and because of this linear tracks and destruction of habitat and easy movement, a lot of elephants are killed in human and wildlife conflict, which is also been shown in which is also quite visible in states like Kerala. But throughout the country, the survey has not happened in northeast region, but throughout the country, what we are seeing is because of all these developmental projects, unmitigated mining, linear infrastructure projects, the number of elephants have started falling significantly, and you should be aware about all the elephant reserves in the country. So take a map, see all the wildlife sanctuaries, and see where our elephants are there. So for each kind of this thing sanctuary that you have, you should be aware about the animals that are aware. Then the other thing is crackdown draws links between NGOs in cause and funding pattern. Now, what has happened in the last few years is that a number of NGOs, their funding has been stopped. Now, you should be, as a part of your GS paper number 2, you should be aware about this funding issue of NGOs. Now, the FCRA was amended a few years ago, and which basically said that if you are receiving funds from outside, you can receive a maximum of 50% of so if you have received 100 rupees, first of all, you will receive all that 100 rupees in one bank branch of which will located in Delhi, in New Delhi. Then other than that, only 50% of the money can be spent on administration, and rest can be spent on other things. And then it also says that you will not get into any political agitation and stuff, all these, and not hurt the interest of the country. So all these things were basically put forward in the FCRA. Now, the FCRA registration was taken away from a number of companies or number of NGOs like Center for Policy Research, Oxfam, CPR, Environics Trust, Life, and CISSD. Now, all these, what is being talked about is that all these, where is it? Yeah, all these organizations had one thing in common, that they were carrying out anti-India activities. Now, what is anti-India activities? That either they were opposing any mining project, or they were opposing any coal project, or basically they were agitating against some kind of project. And these NGOs were basically collaborating and receiving money either from the common source, or they were collaborating on the back end to do that. And to certain extent, these are all hurting developmental activities in India. And because of this, the government of the day had taken the license of all these companies to receive funds. They have not been given any particular funding mechanism, and a lot of them are now on the last stage of their operations, and their court cases are there in Delhi High Court. So this is with respect to this an important issue. Then West Asia on edge. India calls for restraints and says avoid Iran travel, because again, you can easily imagine that Israel is not going to sit back. It is going to retaliate. Now, then the next article. Again, PM internship, learn from the best. 1 crore youth, this was announced in this year's budget. 1 crore youth to get year-long internship in top 500 companies in the next 5 years. And you're going to get a monthly allowance of 5,000 rupees along with one-time grant of 6,000 rupees. So this is what is being talked about under this. Then yes. We are going to cover only the first part of the article, folks, or maybe we can cover. No, we will not be able to cover. So I'll tell you, but we'll cover it tomorrow. We'll cover the editorial, a mirage called peace. Now, we already know about this entire issue of what is happening in the Middle East, because we've been reading about this issue since last 1 year, when on October 7, 2023, these fighters, these Fidain fighters from the Gaza Strip had flown to Israel and then killed around 2,000 innocent individuals, and abducted a lot of them as well. Now, after that, what has happened is Israel has launched a barrage of attack on all its neighbors and all the areas where they are operating. And this has been the longest war that Israel has fought since 1948, and has led to casualties which is much higher than any of these wars. Now the casualty stands at around 42,000 individuals, and then lakhs have been displaced. But what is happening is that this has now conflicted into a true Middle East crisis, because everyone is now involved. You have Israel, who's at the heart of the issue. Then you have Gaza, you have West Bank, you have Lebanon now, and you have Iran, you have Syria. You have Yemen, because Yemen Houthis are also very important in this entire region. So all these countries are associated, and you have Israel, which is backed by US, as well as which is also backed by Saudi Arabia as well as UAE, because of the fact that both these countries are also against Iran. So Iran is basically one of the causes of axis of resistance, what you say, or axis of evil, if some countries call it, among all these players. And what has happened is now that again there was a lot of criticism of Israel after this 1 year, because the humanitarian toll that this entire exercise has taken has been huge, and the Prime Minister Netanyahu was also facing a lot of criticism, not just in UN and in international bodies, but also at the home front. But again, this attack from this attack from Iran has given enough fodder to the political establishment of Israel to further escalate the issue, and bring this entire region into again a political hotbed. Now, this is something this article talks about, and this article also talks about that I mean, people will not support Iran, and people will not support this Hezbollah also, because of the fact that the entire state of Lebanon has been derided as a failing state, because it cannot be governed. And why it was not being governed? Because Hezbollah as a so think of Hezbollah as Taliban of Afghanistan. That till the time of Taliban is there in Afghanistan, Afghanistan cannot be a decent country, or a developing country. Similarly, Lebanon, although I mean, in fact, it's one of my favorite countries, because it is said that Beirut is one of the best cities to actually be there. But despite that, it is a failing state because of the fact that Hezbollah exists there. And since 1980s, when this when this group was formed, militant group was formed because of the backing of Islamic Republic of Iran, this model of Shia militia. So you have to understand that these are militia, and they are Shia militia because they have been powered by Iran, and they also show a legitimacy because of the fact that in 2000, when Israel ended its 18-year occupation, this Shia militia was hailed as a successful model for Palestinian resistance. And then again, in 2006, the second Lebanon war, the Israel had basically Israel offensive was tackled by Hezbollah, and therefore they have been seen as the axis of resistance against Israeli forces. But now, what has happened is that the leader has been killed, the entire leadership has been killed, and now they are going for a ground offensive, and therefore this attack has taken place. So read about this entire issue. It's an important issue. The other two articles, the first article is the issue on this norms of trading. Now, this norms of trading, basically, as we had read in the previous days in the 2nd October's newspaper, that there has been a rising concern of the trading volumes that have happened in the FNO segment in India, which has been huge. And the problem is that it is majorly done by retail investors, and 90% of these retail investors, I have been telling you, have lost money. And the amount has been somewhere around 1.81 lakh crore, which people have lost in these three financial years. And it is only the retail investors which have mostly lost. The institutional investors have not lost. And apart from that, most of the people who have lost are people who have low income, less than 5 lakh rupees. Now, because of this high speculation, there has been a lot of gambling instincts. As I told you, that this is like Dream 11 that people are building, and surge has also led to this thing, a problem of macroeconomic stability and channelizing of savings to speculation. Therefore, there have been 6 measures which have been introduced by SEBI. You should make a note of all of these 6 measures. First is the contract size, which was initially for futures was initially 5 lakhs, and for options it was 10 lakhs. Both of them have been increased to 15 lakhs. So the minimum amount that that you have to buy is more, so therefore you have to put more money upfront. Then front collection of option premium. Again, if you ask people to give money in advance, or all the premium in advance, again they will curb down their activity. Then the third is rationalization of weekly index derivatives products, basically for better risk management. Again, if you want to do a lot of detailed analysis of this, you can always do GPT for this. Then monitoring of positions, that what are the how much large trading volumes are there, especially on the expiry date of a particular position. And then you have reduction in retail participation by increasing the entry barrier for F&O trading. So these measures have been taken. Apart from that, the taxes have also increased in this year's budget. For futures, the transaction tax has increased to 0.02%, and for options it is at 0.1%. Apart from that, all this should reduce, and the future steps is that we will, by November 20th, we will implement 3 of these steps, and then in February and then in April we will implement all these steps. So the idea is to reduce the speculation. Then taming the outbreak, we have already talked about this, that what is needed is that we have the Epidemic Act of 1897, and which is too dated, and we need a new act for the 21st century, whereby the first 100 days, which are crucial, we need to have a future pandemic preparedness and emergency response, and for which we need a specialized act for this. And we also need all these systems to be there, the institutional mechanism for pandemic management to be there. Then the legislation for Public Health Emergency Management Act to replace all of these. Then apart from that, we need dependence on the private sector, because you need private hospitals to be there, coordination between the public and the private sector, and then data collection is also there. So all these things are there, but at the same point of time, these should not just be another report, just like the groundwater crisis report of 2018, which is basically eating dust. This is an important policy which the government should implement. So you can read this. Then now, folks, what we are going to do is, there are 2-3 more articles which I want you to read. You can read this Gandhian of our time, because of Gandhiji's birthday. Mission Next Step is another article excuse me, that I want you to read. And we'll anyways cover this. New rules to curb F&O frenzy aims to protect small this thing. So these are the 6 steps that I told you that have been taken. You can read these 6 steps. We'll talk about these 6 in detail tomorrow. Very, very important for the economic services interview, folks. And then food safety laws, because of the UP government and then Himachal government basically saying that, talking about the fact that you should display the owner and then the employee. What are the powers of each particular state? And finally, the targeting US dollar is not India's economic policy, but looking for workarounds. So this is another article that you could read. I will not cover this article, but I will cover the explained page articles tomorrow because of paucity of time today. So this is about us, folks, for today. I will see you tomorrow at 5:45, 6 o'clock around, and we'll cover tomorrow's newspaper. All right. Thank you very much. See you. Bye bye.